Okay, guys, we're gonna pray, all right, and we're gonna get started. Father in heaven, we are extremely grateful for your watch and your care over us in this life. Father, things happen in our lives, and things get in an upheaval sometimes, and we sometimes it's our own fault, and sometimes it's just life throws things at us. Father, help us to always, no matter the ups and the downs, help us to always stay faithful to you. Help us always stay focused on you and realize, Father, that you're always in control and you're always working and always working in our lives. We'll look at that and we'll see that today in our study today. But I pray, Father, that you bless the families here that have lost. I pray, Father, that we're grateful for the opportunities we have to know that when we live faithful to you, that your promise to us that we're going to get to go home. And we thank you for that as well. Father, we pray your blessings upon this church as we worship and as we study this morning. I pray, Father, that you would help us to grow and help us to be encouraged and to encourage each other and to encourage those who will be visiting with us this morning. I pray that you'd help us to say the right things at the right time. Help us to realize, Father, that we belong to you. We don't belong to ourselves, we belong to you. And because of that, we have some obligations that you require of us. And I pray, Father, that we will take those obligations seriously. Thank you, Father, for loving us, and thank you for bringing us here. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, we're going to be in the book of Ruth. If you want to turn over there. How many of you read the book of Ruth, or at least read the first chapter? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's good. Okay. I don't know how long we're going to be here with Ruth, but there's a few things. There's only 85 verses. That's all there is, 85 verses. We did more verses than that in 2 weeks in one psalm than this is in this whole book. But there's a lot here. There's a lot going on, and I'm sure that if you read this through, you probably missed over some of the stuff that we'll look at. But I wanted you to just to be familiar with this lady and why I think that I think she's a hero. And first, I want to ask you, what is the definition for you of a hero? What's the definition of a hero? Now, I've got a definition here. You know that. Okay. I just want to make sure you knew that. Now, I want to know, you tell me what you think. In a sentence or less, tell me what you think a hero is.
One that lay down his life for his friends.
One lay down his life for his friends, okay? Anybody else? Yeah.
Somebody that goes beyond what would be normal.
Okay. Go beyond normal. Okay. Anybody else? What do you say a hero is? Yes, ma'am.
Needs to be done, even though it's extremely difficult.
Someone that sees something needs to be done, does it, even though it's extremely difficult. Somebody else had their hand up. Anybody? Nobody. Okay.
Well, they'll risk their lives even for a stranger.
Okay. One that risks their lives even for a stranger. Okay. Here's the definition. Okay. A person noted for courageous acts or nobility of character. Got it? Here's another one. A person who, in the opinion of others, has special achievements, abilities, or personal qualities and is regarded as a role model. Okay? Does those work for you? Mm-hmm. Those are straight off my iPhone. It must be true. Straight off my iPhone. Huh?
It's on the internet.
It's on the internet. Must be true, right?
Well, there are quiet heroes, and then there are the bold heroes,
Okay.
like someone that would lay down their life. But then there are the quiet heroes, like the father that gets up every day, goes to work,
Okay.
works for his family
Okay.
to take care of them,
Okay.
and takes care of.
He's a role model.
Yes.
He has qualities. He has personal qualities that make him a role model. Okay, that fits that description. Anybody else? Now that you have the definition, would you change your focus on what a hero is to you? Would you? No. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Dan, in the flood of 98, we were in New Braunfels, and we were playing dominoes at the table, and the water was coming up on the floor, and we went, okay, what do? We go outside, and my husband heard somebody down the street, water was coming up in their house, and she was screaming, and he went down there, and her husband had a heart attack in the garage, So he immediately did CPR and tried to save him, and he didn't. But I thought that was pretty heroic, and he stayed with her until the ambulance came.
In the face of tragedy, trauma going on in your own life, you step out and help someone else trying to save their life.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sid did that.
Sid did that. Sid did
He knew
that.
how to do the CPR and do all the things, you know, from his training at DuPont.
All right.
So I thought
That was heroic.
Yeah.
It was heroic. Okay. Would you say that most of us, we would have a different view of what heroism is to us
Right.
in different circumstances? You might have an idea of heroism from this perspective, or Blythe may have a different perspective of heroism, you know, where Paul would have a different. Male and female would look at heroism different, right? Would you say that's true? Okay. I wanted to pick someone that I felt like was a hero to me. I felt like the things that we could learn from this lady, I think is very heroic. Some of the things that she does, I think that what you find of her at the end is very noble. Okay. And I want to ask you another question. How many of you have had a hero in your life? Someone who was a hero. Yeah, Gerald.
My stepfather was a hero.
Stepfather. Anybody else? Somebody that you had was a hero in your life. Yeah.
My grandfather.
His grandfather. All right. I'm not going to ask what they did, but for these people, that's who was their hero. Okay. You know, a stepfather or a grandfather. Somebody else.
Brother.
Huh?
My brother was.
Your brother. Y'all know his brother.
Yeah.
Y'all know his brother. His brother's name was Roy.
Anything for anybody. Help.
You want to know what he looks like? Go look in the foyer.
Yep.
I'm serious. You know, he was hero to a lot of people.
Yes.
All right. Noah Crisp. Noah Crisp was a hero. Noah Crisp is the reason that I do some of the things I do, is because he believed in me enough when I didn't believe in myself. So, he was a hero. Anybody else? I got one I'm gonna talk to you about here in just a second. All right. Yes, ma'am. Rudy Ray. Good name. Rudy Ray. Hero, man. You know, for those of you who don't know who he was a preacher here when I was converted. He was a preacher. He was a preacher here for, 12, 13, 14 years. Very dynamic in the pulpit. Very evangelistically minded. You know, it was if you didn't know him, it's your loss not to have known him. But he formed, Rudy formed a lot of the people here that do what they do. He formed the basics, the foundation for them. He is the reason they have the foundation under them that they have. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Robert Willis. Another good one. Okay? I got one that was born in 1924. In September, to be exact, of 1924. In 1943, in January, he was inducted into the Marine Corps. And in January 16th of 43, he started basic training. In March, he was through, and in November of 43, his birthday was in September. So 2 months after his 20th birthday, he was in the waters off the beach of Tarawa, and that was the last anybody ever saw of him. Never recovered his body. His name was Marvin George Hujay. And he was my uncle. And I never knew him. He died 8 years before I was born. But I look at him and I say, I am who I am and I am where I am because of young teenagers like him. They were willing to sacrifice their life for you and I. And for me, that's a hero. That's my hero. And I've got lots of other ones. Dwayne Wheeler's a hero to me, who baptized me and put up with me for the first year of my life. And that was not an easy task, let me tell you. Me and Rocky Hansen were not an easy charge, and he had both of us at the same time, and it was, I bet there was times when he dreaded Monday nights or Tuesday nights. I think we went over on Tuesday night. I bet he dreaded Tuesday nights, us coming to his house, because he knew what he was going to get, and he took it like a trooper. And so for me, he's a hero. All right, Ruth for me is a hero. I look at her that way, and I think because of where she comes from and what she does and what she's willing to do and what it's going to cost her and what she's willing to pay, it makes her life heroic. So I want us to look at like I said, I don't know how long it's going to take us to do Ruth. I don't know, but I do want to pull out those things here, and I think there's some things that we can learn from her. All right, and if you can't learn from someone that you're following, then they are not really a hero. If you're not learning from them and they're not motivating you and they're not and they're not a role model to you, then are they really a hero? Then, if you're not looking at them saying, "I need to be like that. I want to be like that." Okay, now let's start, and we're going to read the first 5 verses. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, so a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech. His wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. And they were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they had lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Okay? Anything step out at you here? Anything at all? That when you read this, and I'm assuming you read it once or maybe read it a couple of times, did anything step out in these first 5 verses? Anything at all?
Do Ephrathites, does that mean they're descended from Ephraim?
If you hear that again, I think later on you hear it. I think in Matthew or somewhere that where Bethlehem Ephratite, it was the region, and it was really Bethlehem is what it was. It was.
Were they descended from Ephraim?
No,
Okay.
no. At least not that I could find.
Okay.
But it was the area east where the Transjordan tribes did congregate, and they may have been.
Okay.
I didn't look that far. But anything else? Anything else?
2 women were left alone.
Okay, 3 of them. 3 of them.
3, yeah.
3 of them. Anything before that? Come on, guys. What about Moab? First off, what in the world is he taking his family to Moab for? These are sworn enemies of Israel. How bad do you think this famine was for him to take his family? And he's a man of standing, okay? He's a prominent guy. And he takes his family, lifts them up, and hauls them to Moab. What in the world is he thinking? What's he thinking? Do you understand anything about the Moabites? You understand anything?
It's a famine.
Huh?
They didn't have anything. There was famine.
There was a famine.
Yeah,
but what about, why would you think this is a plan? I'll go to the Moabites. That's where I'll go. Yeah, David?
When the Israelites came out of Egypt, they didn't help them at all. The Moabites.
No, they did not. They didn't. In fact, they did just the opposite.
Pretty much enemies.
Yeah. Do you know where they come from? You have any idea where they come from? You have any idea where the Moabites come from? Turn back to the book of Genesis 19. Okay? Here's some names you'll remember. Look at Genesis 19. Okay? This is the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. You remember that? They're so evil, so wicked. They have made a name for what people like this do called sodomites or sodomy. Okay? This was a despicable, unbelievably sinful place, and Lot had taken his family there. Mm-hmm. Remember that story? Okay? And God gets them out of there, sends a couple of angels, and the people of the town want to take the 2 angels and have sex with them. Okay? Y'all with me so far? Mm-hmm. All right. And so they tells them that when the angels take them out, say, don't look back. You're going to hear some stuff. Don't look back. And his wife looks back and does what? turns to a pillar of salt. Okay? Now, I want you to now here we are in verse 30. Look at verse 30. Lot and his 2 daughters left Zoar and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. One day the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old and there's no man around here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let us get our father to drink wine and then sleep with him and preserve our family line through our father." What a plan. Okay, all right. That night they got their father to drink wine, and the older daughter went in and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day the older daughter said to the young, "Yuck! Does it not give you yuck that they would think to do this?" Anyway, all right. Yep. So he said, the next day the older daughter said to the younger, "Last night I slept with my father. Let's get him drink wine again tonight, and so you go in and sleep with him so we can preserve our family line through our father." So they got their father to drink wine that night also, and the younger daughter went in and slept with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son, and she named him what? Moab. They come from an incestuous relationship between Lot's daughter and Lot. Okay? We're not going to go and look at all the things they did, but if you go to the book of Numbers and go to Numbers 22, 23, 24, in that area, you're going to see a lot of interaction. You know, the Moabites, when the Israelites were moving and going in their journey, the Moabites sent women in to seduce the men from Israel, okay, to try to undermine this great people, because they all knew that these people were a real problem, and so they're going to try to undermine them. So that's what the Moabites did. It was twisted, and this guy takes his family to Moab. I couldn't figure out why. I never did find out. Why did we do that? How bad must it have been? All the guys I listened to, all the commentaries I looked at, none of them could give a good enough reason why he did this. It must have been horrendous where they were at. I think, after reading the book numerous times, I think God sent them there on purpose. You got that? Got it? Because at the end of chapter 1, if we get there, I hope we get there, you're going to see something. I'm going to take you in the book of Job. We're going to see something else. Okay? And I just want you to see, remember that God's hand is all over this. Okay? Don't ever lose sight of that. No matter what's going on in your life, God's hand is on this. Whether He's allowing it to happen, whether He's turned Satan loose, whatever it is, He's got a purpose and a plan. And if you have enough faith in God and you listen to God long enough, you're going to figure out, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have a clue. God does. I'm going to trust Him to do what He does. Just like your children trust you to do what you do. Okay? Until they become adults. I told a young lady the other day, that the parent's job is to make you into an adult. A functioning, sane adult. That's their job. And then when you move on, what do? Become an adult and start making decisions, and then start training your children to become adults. That's what you do. Okay? Now, here he says that these women, they have all the men have died. Nobody could tell. I couldn't find anywhere why they died. Okay? Now, was it because of God killing? I don't know what happened. I know that they all died. And in that culture, in any culture in that day and time, today, we have, you can talk about, we don't have women's rights on it. Come on, man. People can do whatever they set out to do in this culture. Lindsay's over there. She's a nurse, and I wouldn't even begin to try to go where she's at. I don't have no desire, first off, but I applaud her for what she went through and because I talked to some other people how difficult that is to do, and for her to, Pete, I applaud you for what you've done. And I think it's awesome. In this culture, they can't do that. Women can't do anything in that culture without a man. They have to have a man in their life to do something. And now they've got 3 women, no men. How hard do you think this is going to be for them? How difficult? What do you think the problems are? What do you think the problems come up now that they have no men in their life? What's a man going to do in their life that maybe from our culture it's far removed, but in their culture, what do you think a man does in their life that they can't get done for themselves?
Feeds them.
He feeds them. Got a job. Who said that? feeds, protects them, got a job. They can't get a job. There's only a couple of jobs they can get. You know what they are? No, you don't want to know.
No.
You don't want to know. You know, that's how they make their. That's how, you know, many women in this culture. That's how they made their livelihood. They had to sell themselves. That's what they did. That's the only way they could. You know. So here we have these three women. All right, Orpah, Ruth, and Naomi. They've lost their husbands, and there's no hope for them. There's nothing to do. What are they going to do? They're going to starve to death in a land that has plenty. Okay, now let's move on. Y'all got it so far? You got it? Okay. Yeah. When Naomi had heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. With her two daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Okay? They're going back. Her and these two ladies are going back, three of them. Then Naomi said to her two daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud and said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." Okay? And said, "No, we're not going. We're going to go with you." But Naomi said, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have many more sons who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight and then gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters, it is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me." What is Naomi's belief system? I need to provide you husbands. I can't do that. I'm too old to do that. What's my problem? From Naomi's, what's my problem? God has turned on me. That's her belief. God's turned on me. Sadly, I've heard that from people here before. God's turned on me. Why is God punishing me? Not punishing you. Not punishing you. God is trying to raise you up for something better. You just don't want to go along. That's the problem. That's what he's doing here. He's got his hand in the middle of this. You'll find that out. He's got his hand in the middle of this because he's going to bring Jesus on the scene. You understand? And one of these days, this lady is going to be in the seat line of Jesus. Amen. She's going to marry she's going to become the wife, the great grandfather of David. Okay? You got it? God's hand's all over this, guys. You know, God's hand is all over his people's lives. He is in control of their lives. Just because it gets bad does not mean God took a vacation. He doesn't do that. He's trying to get our attention for something out there. I don't always know. We don't always know what it is. Sometimes we may never know what his plan is. It's just like your children. Just like your children. You know, got children represented all over here. You know, how many times do you do something, your children have a clue what you're doing? And you can't explain it to them because they're not going to understand anyway. You've got to plan 3 months from now, and they got to plan three seconds yet. They want 3 seconds to go. That's where their mind is, right? Thank God the kids hadn't changed. They're still the same as they were before. You know, you're looking ahead. They're looking right now and behind. That's what they're doing. That's what children do. You know, well, here, God, that's what we do as children. We're looking right now, and God's thinking 30 years from now. What's going to happen 30 years from now in your life? Okay? Now, let's move on. At this, they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her." Now, listen to what this lady says. This is heroic, man. This is role model stuff. Mm-hmm. But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." I want to ask you something. What is this girl, Ruth, got looking forward? What do you think's coming looking forward? What has she got coming at her that maybe she doesn't even know? She's going forward. She said, "I'm going to go where you go. I'm going to be where you are. I'm going to serve your gods like you do, and be it ever so severely if I ever turn on you." All right? May God deal with me. Yeah, David?
Her great-grandson was David.
Okay. Yeah, her great-grandson was David. Yeah. But what is she facing in the present? What's coming?
Starvation.
Huh?
Possibly starvation.
Well, but if they stay there, but if they go back, what has God done? She said they found out that God has relented, and now they've got food there, and so they're going back to their home, going back to the plenty. Naomi's going back without her husband and without her 2 sons. They're gone. They're dead. They're buried in Moab. Okay? But what is Ruth? This is what Ruth says. What is Ruth looking at? When you make a decision, I will follow Christ, you don't have a clue what that means. What God's going to expect of you down the road. What He's going to demand of you down the road. All right? What's she got looking for? Yeah, Caleb. She's
going to go against the world because she's going into hostile territory.
Yeah.
We just spoke about how the animosity between the Israelites and the Moabites and the Moabites, and the thing is that yes, they loved each other. Mm-hmm. They loved each other greatly, and you can see that through Ruth's taking on this. But that's not everybody else.
No. Think about it, guys. She's going back to Israel, all right, and she's a Moabite. All right, they hate you. You're gonna inject yourself in that environment where they can't stand you. They may love Naomi, but they don't even know. It's been 10 years. You don't know if anybody's going to remember Naomi. And she's going to show up with these 2 Moabite women, this Moabite woman. One of them's got sent. She goes home. So I'm going back to my parents. She said, I'm going to go back and serve my God. You know who they served? If you go into the Numbers 22, 24, 25, go in there, you'll figure that out, okay? And I don't have time to read it. They serve a God. One of the gods they serve is Chemosh. The god Chemosh. You know what part of the practice is for worship to Chemosh? They have babies, and they throw their babies in the fires in celebration and sacrifice to Chemosh. That's what they do. Think about it, ladies. You have a baby, all right? You've carried it for 9 months, and then this baby's born, and you give it up to some so-called no-account priest, and he goes and says a bunch of holy words over it and throws it into a fire to honor this god Chemosh. How does that work for you? How does it work for you? You know? Does that sound like a plan? I see the list is going, yuck. Does that sound like a plan? You know, we grieve over the loss of children, and these fools are going to take their children and purposely throw them because it's worship, because they believe this god Chemosh is going to come and help them if they sacrifice these babies. That's only part of it. The idolatry, the sexual perversion of it, it was everywhere. And that's what this girl says, I'm not going back there. I'm going to. Why is this God of Naomi different? She's heard about this God. She's seen it in Naomi. She's seen it in her husband Elimelech. She's seen it in her husband. She said, I want what you have, and I'll risk going there. I'll risk going to this place that I don't know anything about. I have no clue. I'll risk that. Because these people could turn on me. They could kill me there. She is a single woman, no husband, and she's going into a land where the culture is exactly the same as where she was at. What's the culture? Without a husband, you've got nothing. She could starve to death. You're right, Jimmy. She could starve to death. Because who's going to help them? If they don't elevate Naomi, she's in trouble. So is Naomi. Yeah, David.
The law prevented a Moabite from becoming an Israelite.
That's exactly right. Y'all hear that? The law prevented them. Unless they did what they adhered to the law. The law said they can't be a part of it unless they do this. They had to become a proselyte. They had to become a Jew through Jewish custom and by the way, but these Moabites would bring, when Saul became king, God told him, don't heap unto yourselves any foreign wives. What did he do? He had all kinds of concubines. David did the same thing. And what had happened to them? It destroyed some of them. It destroyed their families at some point. David's got kids from all over the place. And and what happens to him? His family turns on him. Okay? He's not a good father. He's a lousy parent. He's a lousy parent. But he's faithful to God. Faithful to God. And that's the culture that they're in. Okay? You got it? That's why everything that this woman does, I look at her and say, I'm in awe of you. To put yourself in that place. It's like my wife, marrying me, knowing how my family was. kind of the same thing. She got thrown into the lion's den, man. You know, I mean, seriously. I mean, I applaud her for doing that and keeping me sane and keep me on the straight and narrow, you know, by threatening to, you know, all kinds of stuff with me. You know, she threatened to, you know, hurt me. You know, anyway. No, I mean, you know, it just, and so I look at this girl and I say, man, I said, what's going through your mind? How trusting of Naomi do you have to be? And how trusting of a God that you don't even know yet that you have to be? Now, let's move on, because I want to get to the end of this. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. She said, fine, you go. You can go with me. So the two women went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women explained, can this be Naomi? Don't call me Naomi, she told them. Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me. So I'm going to stop right there for a minute. What is Naomi's perspective of her last 10, 12 years? What's her perspective? Tell me what her perspective is of life.
All loss.
Huh?
All loss.
All loss. You know what her name means? Her name means pleasant. That's what Naomi means, pleasant. Does this sound like a pleasant attitude from a lady? No. Mara is bitterness, rage. That's what Mara means. She said, call me Mara, don't call me Naomi. She said, I'm not that woman. God, I left full. I had a husband and 2 sons. Everything was good. Yeah, we were hungry, but that's not what she means. She means I was full. I had everything that a woman could need. If I lose my husband, I still got 2 sons. And she never planned on that her husband was going to die, and then both her sons were going to die. She had never planned that. So she's bitter. She's come back bitter, hadn't she? They recognize her. They say, is this Naomi? Wow, it's great to see you. Man, this is awesome. You know, that you're back again. And she said, this ain't awesome. I'm beaten down. Why? Why is she? Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? It is God's fault. I went away full, but the Lord brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune. God did this to me. You ever heard that before? Mm-hmm. I have numerous times. God, why did you do this to me? You done this to me. You trashed my life. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No. Sometimes things happen. You know, in a sin-filled world, sometimes things happen. And God allows things to happen for what reason? Is he doing it to destroy you? Is that what he's doing? Or is he doing it to try to get your attention and get you to another place? Isn't it? I want you to look at Job. Look at Job chapter 1.
Sometimes God chastens those whom he loves too.
Well, absolutely he does. If he loves us, that's what Hebrews chapter 12 says.
And that's what he does.
Look at Job chapter 1. If from her perspective, and I can understand her perspective, okay, that God has brought misfortune on me, okay? Does God have a plan for down the road for Naomi? Yes. Does she? She's got people already set aside. The guy's name is Boaz. You've met him, right? In next chapter, you meet Boaz, right? Boaz. You know, she's got Boaz. He's got David in mind. He's got Jesse in mind, Obed in mind. He's got these people in mind that are going to come years and years and years later. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know that. What's her perspective? God's jerked me around right now. How dare him jerk? Don't he know who I am? Don't he know who I am? I can say that. I said that. Doesn't he know who I am? Yeah, he knows exactly who I am. It didn't impress him much. I was way more impressed with me than he was. But he had a plan, guys. He has a plan for us. You know, and just because your children don't agree with you doesn't mean your plan goes off in the ditch. Okay? Now look at what he said, chapter 1, and look at verse 20. Now remember what's happened to Job so far? Now I want to read. Let's go back up to verse 18. While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the four corners of the house. It collapsed on them, and they are all dead. And I'm the only one who has escaped to tell you. What just happened? He lost everything. Yep. Marauders came in and took everything he had, and now a wind came in and blew the house down, and all of his kids are dead at one time. Right? Should he be angry? Would you be angry? Yep. Would you be a God hater? Maybe. Yep. I've seen it happen. I've seen people turn on God because of it. Yep. And what is Job's mindset? This ain't even the beginning. This is only halfway through. Satan hadn't even touched his body yet. Satan's fixed to throw bombs at him with his body. His body's going to go south. His wife is. I said I got away with doing it in class the other night. With a wife like his, why don't you just kill me, God? Just kill me. You know what his wife tells him? Why don't you just curse God and die? What a woman. What a woman, man.
I had one tell me that one.
Well, I mean, I never had one tell me that, man.
I told her to get out of my house, too.
But I want you to look at what Job's going to lose his house. I mean, lose his children, lose his stuff, and then in the next chapter he's going to lose all of his health. His health's going to be gone. All right? Now look at what he said. Look at what he said. And he said, at this Job got up, tore his robe, shaved his head, then he fell to the ground and worshiped and said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. Yep. Okay? What does Naomi do over here? I mean, what does Ruth do over here? She says, I'm going to go with you. And what does Naomi do? It's God's fault. God did this, and that's sin. That's what it says in Job, doesn't it? It says Job did not sin because he did not say that God brought this on him. Mm-hmm. In a sense, God did bring it on him, didn't he? Yeah. Because he turned Satan loose on him. Oh yeah. Right? I asked my class one time. I said, "Do you think God still does that today? Still turns Satan loose on people today?"
Joe will.
Why did he turn him loose on Job and not somebody else? Why Job? Because God knew Job's heart. He knew his heart. He said, "You're not going to touch this guy." And Satan says, "The only reason I can't touch him is because you got your hands on him. Take your hands on him and see what happens. You got a hedge around him. You got hedge around him. Everything's good." Yes, ma'am.
When I was in a very bad situation, I think the Spirit encouraged me to say, what am I supposed to learn here? Yeah, that's a good point, Sarah. What am I supposed to learn here? What is Ruth going to learn when she watches Naomi, and then she's going to see the blessings that come? What's she going to learn here? What have you learned from the trauma in your life? What have you learned from the things where it seemed like that like Linus got this cloud over you and it's raining on you all the time? You can never get out from under it. It's always bad, always bad, always bad. Never any good. Everything you touch turns to garbage. You felt like that before? Mm-hmm. Kids are no good. Marriage is no good. My life's no good. The job stinks. You ever been there? I see people going, "Yep. Oh, you forgot this. You forgot this. Yeah, and now I'm sick. And now I got no money. Now my money's all gone. And if it couldn't get any worse, now the creditors are calling. They want my money that I ain't got. Right? And what does Satan want you to do? What does he want you to do? Blame God. That's what he wants you to do. Blame God. That's the coward's way out. Blame God. God says, "I don't do that. I didn't do that." He said, I will not hurt you. It may seem, when you spank your children, okay, does it hurt them? Yes. What is it designed for, though? To discipline children. What's it designed for? Teach them. Correct. What did somebody say? Do you love them? Okay. If you go look at Hebrews 12, what God said, if you're not disciplined, you're illegitimate. God's going to discipline those He loves. And it's going to be designed to create a harvest of peace and righteousness. That's what it's designed for. In God's mind, that's what He's designed, to create peace and righteousness. What's happened here? What is it? Now it's going to turn, okay? Naomi's going to turn. It's not going to stay here.
And if you read this, you've seen that. But what I wanted you to see is that how easy it is for us to say, it's your fault. I didn't have anything to do with this. How dare you do this to me? And it can twist you. And it can turn you, right? And it can make you into something that God never intended. God expects us, because He's not going to let us be tempted more than we can bear, what He said. And with every temptation, He's going to give us a way of escape. With every temptation. You know what I found most people do? You know, they need something to blame. They need something to shake their fist at. And so they shake their fist at God, blame God, and they never sit down and say, God, explain this to me. And just talk to Him. Say, God, I need your help. Now, you know, Cole tells people all the time, go in and talk to the elders. Go in and talk to the elders. Go pray with the elders. Go pray with the elders. You know how many people will take advantage of that? Not often. Not often. Or they come in and they've already got their minds made up. They've already decided what they're going to do. It ain't going to make any difference what we say, no matter what we say. And we had one couple came in and we told them, this is a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Don't need to be doing it. They did it anyway. Guess what? It was a bad idea. The whole world turned upside down. They moved off. They broke up. It's a train wreck. 2 train wrecks. 2 trains hitting at the same time. That's what it was. Because they wouldn't listen to God. They wouldn't listen to men who God had put in place to help lead them spiritually, lead them and guide them. They wouldn't listen. You know, here's Naomi, and she's got to at some point, you know, thank God Ruth is going to be the same one here. Okay, at this point, she is going to be the kind of woman that you could role model after, by how she treats Naomi and how she looks at this God. Okay, all right. Now we're going to pick it up in chapter 2 next week. I'm going to try to get through this. I don't think I will, because there's some things here that I need to look at, that we need to talk about. But I wanted to get to the end of this because I wanted you to see. Let me read something right quick. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. And that's key, okay? Because this is how God's going to sustain their life. Because the barley harvest is just starting. They could have come afterwards, and it would have been tough. Could have come way before, and it would have been tough. But it came right at the right time. Okay? God's going to do for you right at the right time. Be aware. Have your eyes open so you can see it. Because too many times we